G'day everyone. Welcome to Behind the Glass Doors Insights. We spoke a few weeks back about adding some additional value to our viewers.
Absolutely. Yep.
And we spoke about a presentation that we put together, and we spoke about it was specifically for some local government shires that we did it for, but it's relevant to many businesses who have a website, and it's very much around that UX. So we're going to break that down into snippets, and these insights are going to go out over the next few weeks.
So again, the reason why we wanted to do this was because we believe there was a lot of really good content in this presentation, but it just needed to have context added to it.
Yeah.
So having a little bit of a discussion that kind of follows along, I think it will add more to the presentation than just kind of having it put out as just a presentation.
Yeah.
Because it definitely needs some kind of like conversation.
Yeah.
That goes with it.
Cool. Let's go through this.
All right. So the main idea behind this segment is that the experience is everything. An experience that is a good experience is going to make you want to use that product or go to that website or use that brand again.
Engage with it.
Right.
Again. Yeah.
If an experience is lackluster or poor, they're not going to want to engage with that same media, that same website, and that same brand.
Yeah.
So your first impression is really important. Just like if you're out at a restaurant and you're having a great time, or you're on a holiday and you're having a great time. But if you're in a, something like a ride share or something like that, like an Uber, and you have a terrible ride, right? Let's say that's your first time using it, bad traffic, all kinds of stuff. Now that brand is now going to have this bad connotation.
Negative connotation.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. So a website is the same type of thing where you have to have that first impression has to really engage your user, pull them in, but the actual UX, the user experience, has to be a positive one.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about your website, you have to think of it as not just another tool, but it is an extension of your business, and it's how people are going to relate to you when you're not there.
Yeah.
So we talked about, the person that you're kind of training to go out into the void to teach people about your business.
Yeah.
Website is that type of thing where you're not there in front of that person when they first come to your website or whatever the content is that you're putting up.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing they have about your company.
Yeah.
Is this experience in front of them. So you really have to take it seriously, and you have to go in with a bit of a strategy.
Yeah. So really what we're saying, the first point, the experience that you give people when they first hit your website is super important.
Right.
And it is a true reflection of your brand.
Yes.
Yeah, and get it right.
And it's that first impression. I think that's a huge part of it. When they first come to your website, the first impression they have of everything in front of them is going to help that kind of process from that point forward.
Cool.
And a great way to get that type of first impression, we feel, is the background video.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a background video is really an amazing way to capture someone's attention, bring them in, make them feel like they're kind of, engaged in what you have to say and what you have to do.
Here's a good example.
Yeah. So something like WA Spaceport is a great example of drawing in your audience right away. The difference between this background video is it's not just a standard kind of video cut together. It's more like journey storytelling.
Yeah.
So we have this idea of creating, this upper orbit experience from behind the back of the moon, taking you down through the ISS and down into the kind of location of where the launch site is in Albany. So this is going to be the first commercial spaceport in Australia, but we needed it to have something that felt a little bit more, exciting and a little bit more kind of
so spacey, right? It just it's a brand.
Totally. Yeah. But it also is talking to the audience that is the enthusiasts that really want to be a part of that kind of space exploration in that capacity. But they just didn't want to do it in a way which was more cliche, where it's just a bunch of space kind of, imagery or video, but it's more direct to what they do.
And something I note on that site, you have a bit of narrative playing over the video as well.
Yeah.
Telling a bit of a story.
Storytelling narrative is really strong because you can help somebody lead them through kind of what you want to say through messaging.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be kind of standard messaging. It can be more creative messaging that's tied into the brand.
Yeah.
We do that a few times, I think, with video, which works really well, kind of when you're first engaging your audience.
So this next example, Chris, is they were looking for a campaign for volunteers. They want to attract volunteers for their wildlife.
The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. And I think in the original design, they just had, or their original site just had one image of somebody holding a koala or something
Yeah.
like that. And we cut together this video to make it feel like this is what a day in the life of your
Volunteer.
experience as a volunteer is going to
Yeah.
be. And so you can't just get that in one image with a little bit of messaging. You have to try to show this type of, and again, a video makes you feel like the site's alive.
Yeah.
You first enter it, there's, obviously you can add music to it, which could be used for marketing purposes. But when you first come on, even though there's no sound, it still engages you and,
Yeah.
and it makes you want to kind of, get more involved in the site because
Yeah.
it feels alive and it feels more active.
Yeah.
So we use this messaging, a wildlife experience, which is the idea of a wildlife experience, kind of playing off that kind of messaging as well. And I think this type of media would draw somebody in and make them want to volunteer.
Particularly if you're an
If
animal
you
lover.
love animals, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty cool.
And then another example is the First Hike Project, which brings in refugees from kind of war-torn countries.
So they're non-for-profit.
Yeah, and they bring them in and they give them the opportunity to have this amazing experience out in the bush, to just kind of witness the beauty of the country and to be around people with similar types of situations and just kind of that sense of community.
And this is real footage from one of the actual camps they go on, right?
Yeah. This was exactly this was one of their events that they took a whole group out to the bush, and we cut all this kind of footage together and added over this VO on top of it, which is Neil talking about the experience from a volunteer's point of view, but that audio also works really well to engage people who might be interested and wanting to be a part of the hike. The kids that are kind of going to be doing this, and it takes some of that kind of fear factor out of it, where it's like, if you were to say, hey, you're going to do a big hike in the bush, it would feel kind of daunting. But when you see it, they're having a
good time,
an experience where they're all kind of like friends talking about similar situations, but also this freedom of just walking around in an area where it's just so much more relaxing for them.